There's been these interviews, I'm loving them from Roberto De Zerbi at this moment in time. And it's a long old article, so let's get into it. So it starts off saying Roberto De Zerbi admitted he sent a sweary message to Jan-Paul van Hecke telling him he had to sign for Tottenham after almost getting him relegated. Spurs spent 237 million in the transfer window so far. De Zerbi wants 2 or 3 more players ahead of the season. At least 2 of those will be attackers, while some managers hate the transfer window. The Italian loves the thrill of the hunt, calling himself a shark when he wants a player. He says, I don't know why I love it. Maybe because when you take the decision, you take responsibility. But I think if the coach calls the player, you can build a special connection at the beginning with them. The player knows you are key for this transfer. Maybe this player feels like you have to give back something more than if, for example, Johan Lang calls the player. Then he talked about the Mateus Fernandes and Jan-Paul van Hecke, and he says, with Mateus, I spoke with his parents. With Van Hecke, after the Everton game, I sent him a message saying, F off. You wanted to send down Tottenham for Brighton? When you made the assist to Georgina Ruta, now you have to come to me. Yes or yes, you have no choice. That is brilliant.
No tapping up at all, of course. But.
So basically, after that Everton game finished, he got into the dressing room. He's like getting on his phone. Tonali, Van Hecke, you're mine.
Exactly. I love that. I absolutely love that. And yeah, what you were saying before about having that kind of connection with the player, him calling himself rather than Johan Lang. And I think we've seen that with so many of the other players, listening to what De Zerbi had to say and him being the clincher, really. And we've just seen evidence of that.
He elaborated a bit more and he says, it was straight after the game, right in my dressing room, my office in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I sent a message to my daughter and then to JP.
So his daughter and then his son.
And then Tonali, I'm guessing. With the whole son thing as well, he calls like everyone that ever played for him his son, which is interesting. De Zerbi loves the moment when the transfer plan comes together because the transformative effect it can have, especially on a club like Tottenham that has suffered in recent years. He says, I'm excited when we close a deal, yes, but not for the player because we can play with JP without JP, with Tonali, without Tonali, but I think it's a different relationship. It's a different atmosphere. We are working very well. It's my best connection with the board. Also, the players we sold, because for Vuskovic, it was together. The request of Vuskovic, we spoke to Vinay with Johan together because I considered my job. No, I consider Tottenham or my club, the money of my club, I consider my money. It's like the owner is my father. You don't want to spend the money to ask your father to spend money or to lose money. And if we sell a player, it's one family. So he's saying the connection that he has with the Tottenham board right now is the best connection he's ever had with any board that he's ever worked with.
Which would surprise a lot of fans considering the complaints we've had with the board. But then again, this summer, there seems to be big differences. And obviously, this is the first summer De Zerbi's had with Tottenham and also the first summer we've had with the Lewis family at the helm. We have let the coffers out. We are doing things in a much different way, a different direction. The sales have been much better kind of structured. Obviously, the buying of the players has been swift, it's been targeted, and we've put the money down on the table. If I'm De Zerbi, I've got no reason to be unhappy. Obviously, right now we need more, but I think the business done up until now has been extremely effectively done, and basically just whatever De Zerbi wants, we've gone and got. Yeah. And I think I can understand why De Zerbi's delighted at the moment. Yeah,
and it's interesting what he says about, the money being... his money is like his dad's money. He's looking at the hierarchies as like his parents almost. Very interesting stuff from De Zerbi.
But you're saying about, interesting what you're saying about Vuskovic. He's kind of implied, because I think a lot of the narrative is of, De Zerbi's the one saying he's not on his plans and he wants him out. He's trying to, say it's been a group decision. We've got this fee, and with Jan-Paul coming in, I've got to consider if we're spending all this money, where there has to be some down other side as well. And so Vuskovic obviously becomes that player. But yeah, I think that was interesting how he's saying we all make decisions together. Because I think there's been narrative that Zerbi saying is my way or the highway. And it might still be. It might just be him just saying this because he has been embellishing the truth in other instances. But yeah, I think it's interesting him saying that.
He went on to say that we are starting a plan for 5 seasons, 5 years, but also maybe 2. Maybe 2 months, maybe 2 days.
That's not
because
great.
In football, you never know.
That is not what I hear from
If we don't get that
Zerbi.
striker, that's it, he's off. But then
5 years unless we get the striker, then it's 2 days.
He says, but at the beginning, we are building a plan for 5 seasons. And I think if you spend big money for one old player, it's not the right solution. So if my request is not right for the policy of the club, I can't ask. But I have to understand before to ask the club. Or, okay, we are spending money, but we are spending money for the plan, for the project. In this part of the history of football, they have to be good on the pitch, but they have to understand the financial part. So, for example, De Zerbi, and then he went on to speak about Paulinho, which we'll get on to in a minute.
So that's interesting. He, when he says here, if my request is not right for the policy of the club, I can't ask, but I have to understand before to ask the club. So you can take that in a few ways, but he's kind of claiming that all the deals he's asking for is within the policy of the club. Yeah. Which I don't know what that is right now, because all the signings we've made are vastly different. There's some older, there's some younger, there's some with more. All of them have a kind of experience. But what is the policy right now?
I think before we had a clear policy of buying young and nurturing them to be future stars. But I think now, because of what we've been through, the policy is just getting us competitive again. Really, I don't think there's like a policy in terms of age or anything like that. It's just to get us competitive. I think that's what it is.
But okay, that's interesting. But so I guess that De Zerbi would be happy with that policy, I guess, right now. So the only reason for them to not have to reject De Zerbi on the basis of policy would be if he wants a player who's inexperienced.
I guess, yeah, we're moving away from kind of inexperienced. We're looking for experienced Premier League proven players to come in. Maybe that is the policy right now. He spoke about João Palhinha. Well, he didn't speak about João Palhinha, but Ali Gold told us about João Palhinha that De Zerbi did want to bring João Palhinha back. But once we did sign Tonali and Fernandes, it became clear that there was no more room for João Palhinha within the squad.
Yeah, which I think was always the right approach, which I, back in the last season, I always felt I liked Paulinho, but I think we should be aiming higher. I think we can get better. And that should be, obviously, given how we've done transfers, I was kind of feeling like, look, let's just get Paulinho because he is a good player. And I didn't really envisage Tonali and Fernandes coming. But now we've seen what we're capable of spending. I think it was the right decision to move from Paulinho.
Yeah, I do agree with that, even though I was convinced that Paulinho should be staying at the football club. But obviously we've brought in 2 much better midfielders. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because De Zerbi, at the end of that game, he was like 100%, yeah, Paulinho's staying. But then straight away he gets in his office and texts Tonali.
I think, yeah. I think at the end of the day, I think De Zerbi probably likes Paulinho and, probably likes his attitude. And he was saying how these are the kind of players we want to build our dressing room around, those players with that kind of attitude. He was saying that. And I think he believes it. But at the end of the day, if you're able to get better players, you're able to get better players, and that's just the final line, I think.
So in the article, it went on to say that it is noticeable that Spurs have sold players at better values this summer, with more to come, and that was a key objective at the club after years of transfer money flushed down the drain. And he says, I think the top clubs now, they are not worried about selling players. No, even Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, when they have to sell, right price. You don't have to be shy. But when you have to spend money, you have to do that. Strong, fast, quickly, the right player, the right investment.
Yeah, that's all the very interesting stuff.
It's what we were saying, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When in the Vuskovic stuff, it's like Man City. Look how much talent that they've sold over the years. Like at Spurs, there's this kind of thing like you can't sell good players.
Yeah.
Like if you've got a good player there, you cannot sell them for love nor money. It doesn't matter. But you look at the big clubs around Europe, and especially Man City, the biggest example of it. If a player doesn't fit, or if a player wants to leave, or if a player is not, completely in tune, you have to get rid.
Or just simply as well, if you feel like a player's good, but you could get better if you've got a right fee for him, and you've got to be kind of ruthless in that sense. And I think all the big clubs, look at Madrid, look how much talent they've let go of over the last however long, but they're not bothered by that. What they're bothered about is getting their team as competitive and as good as high quality as possible. That's their most interest. And if any of the players they sell turn out to be great players, as long as they've got players who are good enough for them, it doesn't matter. That's not going to lose sleep over it.
Exactly.
Same with Man City. Same with a lot of top clubs who are being run very well. And obviously that's something that Tottenham have suffered with in previous seasons. And it looks like we're changing that policy of just always hanging on to good players, always looking for the perfect price, or otherwise we keep them. I think what we're doing this summer has been a lot more ruthless, and I think it's been a lot more effective, and now we're getting bigger fees and players, and you've got more money to play with when it comes to signing. And on the flip side as well, when it comes to buying players, strong, fast, quickly, the right player, that is been the complete opposite of how we've done transfers over the last however long, 20 years. So I think we've seen with a lot of the top clubs.
Exactly, we've been slow, the wrong player, the wrong investment.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think, and weak as well. So I think hearing that and seeing how we've been doing our transfers this summer is really, really encouraging. And I think he's spot on. When you look at the top clubs, when they really want a player, they don't dawdle about it. They just go for it, and they get the deal done swiftly. And if it doesn't happen, they move on and go to another target. But they're usually very strong. There's very rarely as many protracted transfers. There are a few, but it's very rarely as many as what we've had. Every deal we used to do was bloody a protracted transfer. They last weeks and months to get over the line. So it looks like we're doing things in a very different way, and looks like there's only encouragement to Zerbi. Yeah, that's true.
De Zerbi opened up on a moment after the first game in charge of Tottenham that would later show him how far his players came during the early weeks of his tenure. He says, "I was proud and happy to stay up, but I don't feel last season was my achievement. It was the players," he said. "Because when I came, I saw the players after the Sunderland in the dressing room. I didn't tell you in the press conference, but it was like this. All the players crying, lying down on the floor in the dressing room. And I asked, did we pass away? I tried to transfer positivity and observe the situation from another perspective. I was honest. I was always considered the Tottenham players as top players." So it's interesting. After that Sunderland game, everyone...
I was losing my shit after the Sunderland game. I was like, we're down. Romero was out for the season. I think we picked up I don't know how many other injuries. I think that was the game.
Romero was out, it's like, that's it. Romero's out. Season's done.
And there was also, I think that was the game we dropped into the relegation zone. And I think it's interesting to hear him say that, because there was a lot of people, a lot of Spurs fans who said, if we ever drop into the relegation zone, then we're not getting out of it. That'll be it. And that was the game we did it. And it's interesting to see what he said was the reaction. So if it wasn't him in charge to deal with that and it was someone else, would they have been able to transfer the positivity and have that mentality shift that he was able to bring?
Well, Igor Tudor was definitely not able to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think fans were kind of right in a sense that the reaction to us going into the relegation zone was pretty fatal. But thankfully, because of De Zerbi, it wasn't the final nail in the coffin when it might have been in other scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, there was a split in the fan base about it as well, wasn't there? About, trying to send those positive vibes. Obviously, the majority was, to line the streets. And everyone clowned on us for lining the streets, losing 3-0 to Nottingham Forest and blah, blah, blah. But... there were fans online on social media saying, why are you doing this? We're in a relegation battle. But I think all that positivity that the fans were saying to the team was a helping hand as well.
100%. And look, I think a lot of the fans were losing their shit last season. Everyone was throwing mud at all the places they could find. But thankfully, De Zerbi saved us. Yeah. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be having this summer that we're having.
A key mood shifter came when De Zerbi treated the players to a slap-up meal in London, and he admitted that drinks were very deliberately allowed to flow. I mean, I wish I was at that dinner.
Not bad.
He says, one big dinner in Bacchanalia in Mayfair with alcohol. Alcohol is a good medicine if you enjoy normally and seriously, not as stupid people. I believe in staying together. Then I transferred every day my opinion about them. I think they considered themselves in that moment worse than people thought, but there were possibility to stay up and to win. Have a look last season. We could have won against Brighton, Wolves we won, Villa we won, Leeds we could win, but if there was a team who deserved to win, it was Tottenham. Chelsea, maybe we didn't deserve to win, we didn't deserve to lose. And Everton, we deserved to win. Sunderland, we lost, I think unlucky, because in the first half we had 2 chances with Solanke and with Lucas Bergvall, and 1 penalty cancelled.
He remembers everything, huh?
We conceded with a deflection. The potential of the team was very high.
So all we needed was a piss up. That's all we
I
needed.
needed.
That's all we needed to turn the season around. Just a night out.
That's a lesson in life. If
Exactly.
something's just not going right, just go for a piss up.
Exactly. Just have a few drinks and have a good night out. But yeah, obviously, I think if we would have heard that at the time, Zerbi is sending the players for a piss up in a relegation battle.
Do you imagine?
We would have probably lost our. I think we were already getting angry that how many meals they were getting. Tudor, they were getting a meal. Zerbi, they're getting a meal. But luckily, it is what everyone needed. And I think he's absolutely spot on. If you look at the last 7 games, most of them, we deserved the results we got.
Yeah. Zerbi also paid tribute to the talented coaching staff he found at Spurs, that he was only too willing to keep on. He said Bruno Saltor, top. Andreas Jorgensen, the set-piece coach, is top. The Scot, Cameron, which his actual name is Campbell, is another top coach. The goalkeeper, Fabian Otte, top. I didn't want to change because they are better than others. It's one staff together. I considered Bruno or Cam the same as Marcelino, and he was one of my former players at Foggia. I've known him for quite a long time, so he's very happy with the coaching staff.
Yeah, and I think I don't know about Bruno. Obviously, he came in with Frank. Did he come with Frank or Tudor?
I think he came in with Tudor. Yeah,
come with Tudor. Yeah, and then obviously he's had a Premier League experience. But obviously Jorgensen, we've seen the set pieces have been great. When it comes to Fabian Otte, we've seen the goalkeeping, especially with Kinski, has been absolutely phenomenal.
Maybe a great job on Kinski, not so much on Vicario.
Yeah, but I think Vicario, as I say, I think a lot of the bad performances were down to that hernia, I think. But I think at the end of the day, we still had to move on from him. But yeah, I can see why he's been happy with a lot of the coaches.
Zerbi wants his players to step up now, especially leading lights like Mickey van der Ven, when senior figures like Romero and Vicario have been granted their wish to leave N17. And he said, last season is finished and now every one of us, me the first, I have to show I'm good enough to stay at Tottenham every day. The players also. Mickey van der Ven also. I want Mickey as a midfielder at the back, with the ball, with personality to control the situation. We have 2 Dutchmen in Van der Ven and Van Hecker. We have Marcus Senesi, Ben Davis, Kevin Danso, 5 top players. I decide the first 11. It depends on what I see on the pitch and in training. He wants Mickey to be a midfielder at the back.
Yeah, I think what he's trying to say is he needs to be better on the ball, I guess, because that's one thing that I'm not saying Mickey's bad. Don't get me wrong. I think he's just safe. That's what he's always been like on the ball. I think Romero's been obviously the next to him, always a bit more adventurous. Mickey obviously sometimes goes on his mazy runs and he progresses the ball that way. But when it comes to his passing, he doesn't, break the lines like our other, like Van Hecker or Romero or maybe Senesi does. So I think he's trying to say I want him to be as comfortable as like a midfielder can be in the middle, and if he does that, then Mickey is just, there's no stopping him being one of the best in the world at that point. So I think he wants him to take a bit more responsibility because he does play a bit safe, I feel.
Absolutely. But the thing is, like, if you've got a Senesi, if you've got a Porro, if you've got a Van Hecker in the back line, I mean, do we need Mickey to be that kind of player? Because we've got so many passes at the back.
I think his point is he wants everyone.
The merrier, yeah.
I think he wants everyone. No player should be limited, yeah. Because you've got all 11 players as comfortable as each other, all on the ball. All of a sudden, that's a real team.
Yeah.
If you need to start, obviously you can make it work, but in the best case scenario, you want everyone being at a really high technical ability and and that's why he's trying to say to Mickey, I want you take more responsibility on the ball, not pass the buck all the time. You be the one to pass it forward. You be the one to take that responsibility.
Next up, he had some very interesting quotes on Dominic Solanke. He says, I like him as a player, I like him as a guy. There are not many strikers better than Dom Solanke in the Premier League. I think he changes the quality of the performances depending on the confidence he feels. first of all, we have to finish the transfer market and then we speak better about Solanke. Anyway, I want to keep him because I like him as a player. He's a complete striker. He can attack the space. He can cover the ball. He's able to link the ball. He's able to score 15 to 20 goals in the Premier League. It is interesting on Solanke. I mean, obviously he's saying we'll speak more after the transfer window finishes, so we'll have to wait.
I'll decide how good he is after the transfer
Exactly.
window.
So
I think that's kind of telling.
So I think basically, with these kind of things, I feel like he said he's wanted everyone to stay whenever he speaks about any player.
Richarlison, he said the same.
Yeah, he said Richarlison, Bergvall, literally everyone that he speaks about. So
apart from maybe Romero and Vicario. For those are the only players who have expressly said they want to go.
With Romero as well, he's said like about him being one of the best defenders in the world and stuff like that, and who wouldn't want one of the best defenders in the world to stay at a football club.
Yeah.
So, look, I think with this that it's just a sense of confidence building, because if he is going to be part of De Zerbi's squad next season, then you need him at the best levels.
And he says it himself. He says his level of performance changes with his confidence. So I think that's what he's trying to instill in him. I've always said I think a confident Solanke and a Solanke with that bit of fire in his belly, he's a good player. And I don't think he doesn't believe totally what he's saying, but also think what he's saying might be saying behind closed doors. If we can get an upgrade and all these different things, maybe he's happy to let him go. But the most important thing for me isn't actually whether De Zerbi believes it. The most important thing is whether Solanke believes it. Because if Solanke believes it, then we can get a better Solanke and we can get a better striker. And I think we can get that striker we saw when we first signed. That's the main thing for me. We need to get Solanke high on confidence with a bit more passion, a bit more fire in his game. Get that aggression back in his game. He just seemed a bit weaker. He seems to be a player shoving up the ball, a bit timid. He wasn't like that when we first signed him. So I think that's what De Zerbi, and De Zerbi is a master at this. You've seen it with a lot of the players, even at Tottenham, and we've seen it before. He just gets that. He gets them going. He finds a way of getting them to tick.
He needs to find that fire in his eyes again, because that's definitely lost from his game.
Yeah, but I think what he says, I believe, I think what he's saying is true. I don't think anything he's saying is untrue. I just think right now there's something missing.
He scored 19 goals in the Premier League for Bournemouth.
Yeah.
So he's obviously capable of doing it. It's just about what's happened to him. Why is that fire gone? How do you get it back? These are big questions and it needs big answers, but everything will remain to be seen about if we do bring in a number 9, who that number 9 is, and then off the back of that, how many minutes will Solanke get next season?
Yeah, so, I think he'll be here next season.
And then De Zerbi speaking about Antonin Kinski, he says, we start from Kinski because he deserves to start as the first goalkeeper. He is another big potential player. He's a mature guy, has personality, and I believe in his qualities. And I think, we all know that because of how he's trusted him so far. Yeah,
and he's obviously he's given back on that trust, hasn't he? And I think it's been a phenomenal piece of management from De Zerbi to get this level out of Kinski, and considering everything that happened, and now he's like, no, there's no doubts about him at the moment. He's a bona fide number 1. Obviously, he's got to do it for a whole season, and then beyond that. But at the moment, there's a lot of excitement, and rightly so, because he's showing a really good level of performance.
If he can show the level of performance that we've seen from him so far over the course of the season, then we've got one hell of a goalkeeper on our hands, don't we? One hell of a goalkeeper.
And that'll be evidence of maybe, because the recruitment actually not being as bad as people think it is, because he was signed a few years ago for 12 million. People were like, it's a cheap deal, blah blah blah, but could come to pass here.
Yeah. Then he spoke about Kulusevski, which we brought you in the Tottenham update, saying Kulusevski fit and right. He's one of the best players we have in the squad. I wouldn't like to put too much pressure on him to accelerate the process of rehab, but I hope he can be available as early as possible. So that's actually a bit different, isn't it, to the quote that was in the Tottenham update. He says Kulusevski fit and right. He's one of the best players in the squad. What did we have in the Tottenham update?
I think you just said Kulusevski is one of the best players in the squad.
No, the quote in the Tottenham update was Kulusevski is fit and ready, but he doesn't actually say that. He says Kulusevski fit and right. He's one of the best. So he's saying when he is fit and right, he's one of the best players in the squad.
So he doesn't say he's fit and ready.
He didn't say that.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah, it's sad.
So he's been misquoted there because Nizar, if you look at Nizar Kinsella, that's what he definitely quoted him at on X.
But this is the quote here from the guy that did the interview, Alistair Gold.
So he's just completely misquoted him.
I think Nizar Kinsella's misquoted him.
Well, that's bad journalism from Nizar. He says, is fit and ready. So what was the quote he actually brought in? He said, Kulusevski fit, but he also says Kulusevski fit and right. He's one of the best players in the squad, I wouldn't like. So, he just fit and right for Spurs.
Yeah, he's
not ready.
He's
I think he's edited it. I think he did that. He didn't say that before.
Yeah, he's misquoted it. Got the wrong end.
Oh, bloody Nizar. Anyway, so that's a shame. So because it's not as encouraging as what we first thought, I guess, when it comes to him being fit and available. And we'll see. I guess we'll see when we can see him on the pitch. But it doesn't sound like he's any closer.
Goes on to say, what are De Zerbi's non-negotiables, what he expects from his players now they are preparing to play his first full season with his brand of football rather than the compromise version that was necessary in the final 7 games of last season. And he says testa, which is the head, and a cervello, which is a brain. That's it. All day, because football is based on every single day. Football is not like the light switches on. You switch on one and then you switch off. You play consistently. There are right moments to enjoy where they have to do what they want without rules. I don't love rules. I read a book where it was written that creative people don't follow any rules. I would like creative players. I don't want to set any rules, just a couple, 2 or 3 at most. In terms of players being together, I'm not a policeman, not with my children. Freedom, totally freedom. One is one. You are like me, or like the kit man, the same. But every day we have to push. Every day we have to deserve to stay here or play football or to earn the money we earn. It's not normal. We have to respect the luck we've had in our life. He added as well, saying, me as a player, as a student at school, when I felt the relationship with the teacher, with the coach, I was able to give my best. If I didn't feel the connection, if I didn't feel appreciated, the teacher or the coach, I would have closed my head and we start to go to war. I think it's good, especially for the new generation, the young players. If they feel the coach loves me, the coach appreciates me as a player, as a guy, I think they are in the right condition, in a better condition to show who they are. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, basically not treating the players like children, which I do think, too many coaches want too much control and they want to control this and that and everything. And obviously you don't want the players to run over you, but as well, I think everyone should be treating the players as adults and not wanting to control every aspect of their life all the time. And you should give them some trust and you should give them some freedom. And I like that from De Zerbi.
Yeah. And he says, what if his players break his trust and take advantage of fewer rules? And he says, what you want to know? If I punch a player? Nothing. But if I know to be stronger when I have to do something, he said, for example, if you're thinking with Marseille in the dressing room, I'm nice when I have to be nice, and I'm strong when I have to be strong. If there is the sun or the rain, no. But if I understand that it's the right moment to be strong, I become strong for sure, without a doubt, without too many thoughts. So he's saying, don't worry, I can discipline these players if I need to.
Yeah, and I think we've definitely seen evidence of that in certain clips circulated about him. I've got no doubts about De Zerbi. If he needs to lay down a marker or send a message for whatever reason, he's very capable of doing that. But I also feel like he's one of those players. If you're on De Zerbi's good side, then I think he'll treat you very well.
He went on talking about if he kept in contact with his players during the summer and the World Cup, and he says, a different spirit, mood during the World Cup. I've texted. I've been in total connection with Mickey van der Ven, Bentancur, Porro. A lot of messages. Danso, when his wife gave birth. He said also with my former player in Argentina, McAllister. But did De Zerbi get any rest himself after such a stressful end to the season for everyone connected with the club? And he says, I spoke a lot with the board, with the players, studying players on my laptop. I'm lucky because my work is passion.
Just
It's my
watching YouTube
passion.
compilations.
Yeah. It's not tough, he says. On holiday, I felt good, stayed well, but also working is not a problem for me. Working from morning until evening is a problem only if we're speaking about maths or things I don't love. Football, I can stay doing without a problem.
Love that. Absolutely love that. I'm the same.
And then the next part of the article says Spurs fans will be prepared for a full season of De Zerbi passion on the touchline. A coach that the likes of Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp have raved about. Guardiola called him one of the most influential coaches in the past 20 years. And he says, it is one of the few things I feel embarrassed about. I'm sure about myself. I'm always fully charged. But when I start to be a coach, I couldn't imagine ever to become a coach in the Premier League, a coach in the Premier League with Tottenham, and the biggest coaches in the world spoke well about me. Or some coaches said that I'm a reference for them. I become shy. I'm not used to that, and I don't think I'll ever get used to it. Last season, when I go into the big stadium, I spoke with my assistant and said, we are not used to working in this kind of stadium with atmosphere. We are lucky because we started from the shit of football.
Brilliant. I mean, I think De Zerbi has been quoted by many coaches, and Guardiola called him one of the most revolutionary managers in modern football and everything like that. So it's interesting to see a humble side of De Zerbi. He seems such a self-confident guy who has everything switched on, and he's always ahead of the game. But it's interesting to hear him speak like that.
And the last bit of the article is De Zerbi's other reputation is that he's demanding in his conversations with the club owners, and it's led to his departure from a couple of sides. The Italian believes it's all about respect, and he says, yesterday evening I spoke with the CEO of Juventus, my former CEO at Sassuolo, my friend with Paul Barber. We all have great relationships. With Benevento, my first experience in Serie A with the owner, I stay like this. But if the owner doesn't respect me, it doesn't matter if you're an owner or not. In my life, I always thought like this. Sometimes I have bad ends of relationships, but with 80-90%, we have a great relationship. Sometimes it can happen that there are two different ambitions. The owner wants one thing and I push to go for more or higher, but the owner is the owner and I have respect for the owner for sure. Also, the owner has to respect me. Owner, director, or the board. So I feel like he's talking about Marseille there a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's trying to battle against the narrative that he just falls out with all the boards and he's bound to blow up and he's just a hothead that can go at any second. And I guess he's trying to say, look, most clubs I've been at, I've had a great relationship with the owners. It's ended amicably. It's not ended in any sort of blow up. It did happen, I guess he's saying, once at Marseille, but 80-90% basically everywhere but Marseille. It was fine. He had no problem with the owners, and that's what he's trying to say, I think.
Yeah. So look, some great words there from Roberto De Zerbi. I got a feeling that some of his press conference this season is just going to be ones to watch, and I cannot wait for them. But that's kind of his interview in its entirety. So let us know in the comment section below your kind of takeaways from that big interview. I want to big up to Ali Gold as well, because these interviews that he's been doing with De Zerbi over the tour and this one as well have just been sensational.
Phenomenal.
They really have. So,
but he couldn't get a name for the bomber. So of all of things, he couldn't get a name. But let's see.
But look, that is it from us today. Hopefully